Welcome to the stream, everyone. Welcome to a very, quiet and reflective afternoon. I've had a rough sleep schedule lately. I've been staying up way too late and having trouble falling asleep. So, last night I finally got my sleep schedule wrangled back in gear, which means I went to bed at, like, 11:30? And then, woke up at, like, 11:30. So, kinda overslept. But I'm doing okay. Just been a little bit rough on most fronts lately. Work hasn't gotten back to me about anything. My friends are really struggling with some pretty deep shit. Even looking at social media lately has been really depressing, so it's been rough, and streaming has been my escape into something that I feel like is actually, like, worth my time, and seems to make people happy. Y'all wouldn't be here if it wasn't making y'all happy, so thank you. And that's why I've been pouring so much of my time into it, so thanks for being around, and thanks for joining in. Thank you, Hylian and Srirachi and Faye and Apamu for joining in early. Good to see y'all as always. I think I wanted to spend the first part of the stream talking about, like... So, recently I streamed Zeta. Most of y'all were there for that. And... I still have my old name attached to these old things that I've made, back when I went by Willware. And it's been giving me some time to think, like... I don't mind my old name as much as a lot of people seem to. Yes, I changed my name for transgender reasons, and for a lot of people that turns their old name into a dead name. But, like, for me it's as simple as... that's just who I used to be, and now I'm somebody different. And to honor and respect my memories and my legacy, I do refer to myself as who I used to be, and I don't really have a problem with that. So... there was a point where I had more of a problem with it, but that's been dissipating the more and more that I look back on these old things and think to myself, wow, it actually wasn't as rough as I remembered it was. A lot of it was genuinely really good, and a lot of it is still my legacy, and I want to keep it that way. So, I'm happy to carry my legacy with me however I can. Hylian says, it's good to see you too, or hear you while seeing your hexagon. I'm still mixed about the hexagon, honestly. Back when I had my hexagon as my avatar, it was like... there's been a really marked difference in the way people have treated me depending on which avatar I have. And when I had the hexagon, it seemed more like people were avoiding me, and when I have Rivers, the pixel art that I made, it seems a lot more like people want to DM me out of the blue and talk to me. So there's definitely something like... which avatar you choose completely changes how people interface with you, and I don't think that's just a coincidence. I know I've grown a lot in the last few years, and I've become more talkative and reached out to people more, but also... even different pictures of Rivers have had different effects on people, whether they want to talk to me or not, so it's been fascinating to experiment on all of my friends. No. Apamu says, people change names, time happens. Yeah, and... for me, even though I changed my name completely and trans my gender and everything, Willware's just my old username, and Will is just my old name, and I don't have any problems with thinking of who I used to be as that. I did change fundamentally from the moment that I decided to change my gender and become somebody new. I started talking more, I started being more myself, I started leaning into the impulses that I had that I would avoid on purpose, and it's been incredibly freeing, and I've definitely changed as a person. So there is an old me, but I don't think that old me is dead. I think that old me is just me, and I've grown. Hylian says, I think that's a good opinion to have on an old name, even if it isn't the most common viewpoint. I mean, for a lot of people, it's like... There are people who grew up always feeling like the other gender and not having a name to put to it, or words to put to it, and so when they get to the point that they realize, oh, I can just be the other gender, they accept that wholeheartedly, and the old person that they used to be isn't who they ever wanted to be. Isn't who they ever were born as, isn't who was buried deep in their hearts. And I mean, I'm not saying it's so different for me. Because I did repress myself pretty hard for a really long time. But I don't think it was because of my gender. My gender was just a step along the way to finding myself. So it's not that the old me was truly, like, a character that I played for others, or a mistaken sense of self, or anything. It was just a younger me who didn't really know how to interface with the world better. I don't know, it's hard. It's hard to think about that, and not just jump to the common ground of, yeah, that's my dead name, nobody use it ever. It's like, I do have weird feelings about people who exclusively refer to me as my old name, like, my mother finally called me Sky somewhat recently, like a couple of months ago, and that was incredibly, like, that was a healing moment, because up to that point, my mother had been insistent on calling me by the name that she gave me, and of course, I totally understand why. She gave me the name. It's gotta be complicated for her, too. But the day that she finally was willing to open up and call me Sky, it's like, okay, fine, I no longer care if you call me Sky or Will. It's fine now. Just the fact that you're willing to try matters so much. And for a lot of people, it's like, it causes them to wince when they hear their old name, and I understand that. I don't want to take away from other people's experiences by having my own. That's not how this works. Life is not a zero-sum game like that. Just have had to come to my own conclusions about a lot of these things. Hallian says that's the diversity of the human experience. That's really what it boils down to, yeah. My story's a little different from a lot of folks, and that's okay. I even got to keep my parents out of the deal. That's rare for a lot of trans folks. Ah, that got me thinking dark feelings about all the stuff that happened between them, too. Oh, today's gonna be rough. Look, streaming is my escape into entertainment and other people's problems that aren't my own, and a way to forget about the dark times for just a few minutes, and I wanted to lean into that today. So I've got a lot in my head and a lot on my plate, but today is just as much for me escaping as it is for helping everybody else escape. That was my stated goal for a long time, but today I'm starting to realize that streaming is just as much for me, too. Why don't we get to it? Nope, that's the wrong... That's the wrong scene, goddammit! Switch over the monitor real quick. Oh wait, I already have it switched over. There we go! Alright.